Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the ice. Brought to you by Case Financial, Toby Hockey, our friends at Palamount Hockey Academy, of course, Stokes Fields. Joining me as always, Wayne Kosior. Wayne had to do a little more preparation / emergency driving last weekend, so he wasn't with us last weekend. But I'm sure his belly is filled with playoff turkey and playoff stuffing, and he is grinning larger than I am because his boy and his Prince Albert Raiders have made the 8th and final playoff spot for the second season. Let's start with the WHL East playoffs. Good evening, Mr. Wayne Kosior. Thanks for joining me. Let's talk about it. How'd the boys do it?
Just a great weekend. I guess they knew their backs were against the wall, and they had their own destiny in their hands. So if they won out on the weekend against Swift Current on Friday, and Brandon at home in PA on Saturday, they're in. If they lose or tie any of those games and go to overtime, then it's out of their hands, and they have to rely on other people to win and lose. And of course, the Pats had to lose. They had 3 games on hand, but I knew with them playing the ice back to back, the Winnipeg Ice is a powerhouse. Quite confident what was going to happen there. So it was a great weekend, and the Raiders and my boy are certainly super excited to get into the playoffs. It's a different season. And again, they full well know and respect that the Winnipeg Ice is a powerhouse, and it's going to be a challenge, but they look forward to it.
Absolutely. We talk about the 8th seed drawing the 1 in Winnipeg, the Ice. What can you say about a team that's had the best offense, the best defense, 2 of the youngest bright stars that are not 16 years old? We won't talk about the 16-year-old phenom maybe later, but when you talk about the duo of Savoy and Geeky up the middle, plus the veteranship, Prince Albert kind of has had the Ice's number when it comes to the extended time in games or the late game heroics. Prince Albert just has to continue with that same when there's a will, there's a way kind of mentality.
Yeah, I would say so. One of the big advantages I think that PA always has against other teams is, it's a hostile environment when teams go into Prince Albert, relatively small arena. The boards and the glass are rock hard. They're not like the modern arenas where the glass and essentially even the boards a bit flex. It's like running into a brick wall. And so, I just find opposition players are a little bit more hesitant to go into the corners and the walls. And, the Raiders know how to play that rink, and that's why they play a hard physical game in their own arena. And so, that'll be their key. The Raiders are going to be without Ozzy Weisblatt, right? Their first rounder, number 1 guy, shoulder injury. So he's signed off for the season, is down in San Jose with his NHL team there. And I think going to have surgery or at least, some therapy on his shoulder, and so won't be in the series.
Do you think it benefits the fact that, PA had games that were meaningful in the last week compared to, Winnipeg finishing with 111 points, kind of just waiting for the season to finish? Do you think maybe that lull might not help out the Ice and might give a benefit or an advantage to the Raiders?
Yeah, I think it's always a benefit when you're playing meaningful games. But, that said, I know the Ice are going to be ready. They got a fantastic GM and coach there. He's going to have the boys fired up and ready. But again, I get your point. Sometimes when you have some soft games, you can kind of cruise to the finish line. You take some things for granted, but I don't see that happening with the Winnipeg Ice.
So the Raiders draw the Ice starting Friday night. I'm pretty sure you'll be traveling, Wayne, back and forth, perhaps.
Actually, not going to. Just too busy with work and stuff. But certainly going to be making to the Prince Albert games, and the rest, I guess, we'll be watching on WHL TV.
There we go. We got the second place Edmonton Oilers take on the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Not so much travel needed there, but Edmonton should fare well against the Hurricanes.
I would think so. Edmonton is really close to Winnipeg power-wise. They had a lot of injuries late in the season, and I would expect most of those guys will be back for the playoffs as far as I know. But, Lethbridge has been playing hot. They're one of the hotter teams in the Eastern Conference going into the playoffs. But again, they're certainly outgunned when you just look at it on paper and stuff. And so I would see Edmonton probably taking that and 5-6 worst case.
And you're right, Edmonton has that very solid veteran defensive core that they traded for at the deadline, picking up some local talent that they wanted to have back for this potential WHL run, Memorial Cup run. Let's look at the 3-6. Brandon taking the 6th. The Rebels are in the 3rd. Brandon kind of gathered a lot of their momentum a couple of weeks back when they finally did claim that playoff spot. I could potentially see an upset here because Brandon was that team in the bubble that did fare very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Brandon's got a powerful roster, especially if Ridley Gregg is able to come back, and I would say that's kind of the key. Uh, Nolan Ritchie was out late in the season too, so hopefully he's back. I mean, those two guys are big difference makers for Brandon. But I have Red Deer as a dark horse. I mean, they have a fantastic team there this year. Typical Sutter hockey. They're big, they're tough, they got skill, and I mean, I wouldn't take them lightly. I see them, taking out Brandon, but it's probably going to be a heck of a series, maybe 6 games type thing. And I would see them then maybe facing Edmonton potentially, but they'll give Edmonton a run for their money. I mean, they're structured for playoff hockey.
That is true. 4-5, real quick. Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, or Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan versus the Saskatchewan Blaze. Could be I think this could go either way.
Yeah, this one's a little bit. It's going to be interesting. Again, I think it's going to come down to goaltending. And again, based on goaltending, I like to go with the team that's got the better goaltender. And Nolan Meyer's been unbelievable over his 5-year career and stuff. So, if Tristan Robbins, a good old Manitoba boy is back in there and stuff, and Cernkavik, and then they're pretty high powered. But again, Moose Jaw's got a great young team and stuff. So if they get the goaltending, and if Damon Hunt, another Brandon boy, comes back and they get a full roster, they're good too. So it's going to be a heck of a battle. That one could go 7.
Speaking on that goaltending aspect, if Meyer's one of those guys that can make sure he stops all of them but 3, but they score 4, you need 4 games like that and you're through to the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's like any goalie. He has off nights the odd time, but just not very often. But again, I kind of like him. He's a smaller body goaltender. You don't see too much these days, but he certainly is proof that size doesn't matter when it comes to goaltenders.
So we have the second season starting for all these teams, these 8 teams in the east side. Of course, the west side is going to be coming around time. Games will start Friday the 22nd, so it's going to be a lot of fun to support the local teams if you are in one of those neighborhoods. But for a lot of the other teams, a lot of the younger players, they're getting involved in AAA and Junior A camps and progress camps, development camps, ID camps, whatever you want to call them. They're just weekend extravaganzas. And Wayne, you've probably talked to a lot of parents recently with Trailblazer hockey advisors, and parents may be asking the question, which one do I go to? Do I go to them all? Do I pull out the shotgun and just aim it at a wall and see which ones the geography runs into? Give us some do's and don'ts or things we need to know about when it comes to players getting invited and entertaining those options to go to these camps.
Yeah, and first of all, it is an extremely busy time of year for parents and players, and of course advisors like myself, providing advice to our many clients and stuff. But I think number one is you got to do your homework as far as the camps that you want to go to. Just don't randomly sign up to camps because they send an invite, or you haven't really researched if there's really any openings or opportunities for a player of your skills and abilities, or birth year or position type thing. And the more homework you do, the better you can narrow down to the good camps to go. And again, if parents and players don't want to do that or don't have that ability to reach out to those people, you should really use an advisor. They'll save you a ton of money and time and effort and stuff. And so, that's kind of my main message, is do some research, make sure there's a good fit, make sure it's worth your while. Again, of course, I'm supportive of any young player wants to go to a camp just to get the experience, and the family has the financial wherewithal and the time to do it. Great, go and do it. It is a great experience, but I just find too often too many players and parents are getting stressed because they can't get to all the camps. They're running literally every week, and there's a number even going on during this week through the weeks now and stuff, that it's Easter week, and it's just too much. You don't have to blow out your brains kind of going to all these camps. Just pick the select 1 or 2 that are the best fit and do that.
One of the select ones upcoming is the weekend, May 6th through 8th, that both Trailblazer Hockey as well as ASTV will be at the Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. The great layout of it is, first and foremost, the invited players, almost 335 plus. Secondly, it's 4 full ice times. Third, it's not just 1 or 2 selection camps organizations attending. It is a plethora of different divisions and different skill levels looking for filling their roster. And I think when you do the research like that and you look at the teams that are being represented in the stands, geography plays a large role, and opportunity plays a big role too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to that point, I think I should make a distinction between showcases and combines or camps. And by camps, I'm meaning just like a specific team camp. Showcase, like you talk about the Western Canada Exposure Camp in Calgary coming up that, we'll both probably be at, is, that you get exposure to, there's probably going to be in excess of 100 teams represented there. So you get to play in front of that many coaches, GMs, scouts in one showcase in one location. And so I fully support those types of events. That's actually one of the premier events in Western Canada. And, if you're in that age group looking for a spot, whether it be from AAA to Junior B to Junior A, even WHL, that's the place to be.
And certainly don't forget about playing north or south of the border. There are some attendees that will be coming as far away as the Carolinas and California, of all places. Yeah. I think there was a couple players from Alaska too, but nonetheless, when you build that rapport, that reputation of being a player that is looking for their next progression, a selection showcase camp style definitely can benefit, and you should be able to highlight and show off your best talents, your best skate forward.
Absolutely. Good suggestions.
We'll talk more about that next week as well, because Wayne, I want to actually, we'll talk about that next week when I talk about the idea of a whole team that you've played with going to a tournament versus you going as an individual, because I think it could be both good and bad. And I think that'll be next week's discussion. Before we get to next week, though, we have one last topic to chat about, because this is something that you brought up with Wayne, because you've been dealing with it. Now that the seasons are over, we're dealing with also some after lingering effects, the aftermath of certain positive and negative feedbacks. I'm going to let you take the lead and I'll follow up.
Yeah, and it's just an important thing around, there still is ongoing issues with abusive coaches. And, abusive means a lot of things. It could be verbally abusive to the players, demeaning the players, embarrassing the players, screaming at them, using obscenities that aren't required and stuff. And, I've had to personally deal with 3 specific cases myself this year alone, and help players and families through this difficult and tough time with having this type of coach. And so I just want to make sure the audience knows that these type of coaches exist out there. I think in a lot of cases, families and players are scared to speak out, just because typically they have to speak out to the coach and or his local hockey association that quite often the coach is very, very closely tied to. And so there's an intimidation and threats that happen from the coaches and the association that they'll, blackball them, end their career if they bring this stuff forward. And don't fall for that stuff. You got to stand up for it. If you feel intimidated, use a third party like a player advisor like myself. Even if you have to go and use a lawyer, it's worth the investment. And again, my view on these coaches, they're all the same. The 3 cases that I've dealt with this year and had to handle, exactly copycats. They're always going to say I'm an old school, hard-nosed coach. That's the way I am. When I hear that, I hear I'm an abusive coach and I like to, mentally abuse and these kids and harass them, intimidate them and their parents. That's what I hear. And frankly, by Hockey Canada rules, not allowed anymore. Can't do it. And we know we've learned a lot now over the impacts and the mental health of the players, of the parents. And I've seen it firsthand, the things that these players and parents have had to go through. And again, not only, the stuff that happened during the season, but then when we lodge formal complaints, then the ongoing intimidation that comes from the coaches, the organization, often their local hockey association, because at the end of the day, they're all closely tied people. It's the old boys club, and they kind of hang together. And, we're more than prepared at Trailblazer Hockey and myself to take those on. And we've had great success with every case we've been involved in. We're involved in another right now actively. And we look forward to resolving that, and the protection of our player and stuff. But again, I guess the main thing is, and I think this is the exact words from Sheldon Kennedy's group there, Respect in Sport, and it's speak out. Don't hold it in. You got to speak out, or the abuse and stuff will continue to happen on. And that's not acceptable in today's hockey world.
You mentioned the words old school type of coach, hard-nosed kind of coach. And if the organization is a group of old boys, I mean, those 3 are potential red flag comments to be made Not saying that coaches, I mean, there are some great coaches that have been around for decades that have changed their demeanor and have been able to transform their coaching philosophy over the years. And those are truly great coaches. However, there are potentially still those coaches out there that do still continue in the negative abuses, whether it be physical, emotional, um, and mental. I mean, those three, I mean, we're starting to see mental aspects come into account more so than anything, not just with the last 2 years, but just the fact that we are now seeing avenues and platforms available for people to speak out. And I think it's very important to speak out, but also know that if you need the support and the help, there are advisors and there are resources like yourself to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll offer our support if there's anybody that's watching our show or views this and is having these types of challenges. Feel free to visit our website, trailblazerhockey.com. Reach out to myself, and I'll be happy there to share my insight and knowledge and support you in any way I can.
Before I let you go quickly, next week, we have our upcoming webinar, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty exciting thing, actually. I'm glad you raised that, Theo. So we're going to have Micah Zandy Hart, the Canadian Olympic women's team gold medalist from Beijing. She's going to be speaking to our Trailblazer hockey group on Monday evening. And so we're pretty excited about that, to hear about her pathway from, starting out as a girl playing boys hockey, going on to stardom in NCAA Division I hockey with Cornell Big Red, and then on to Team Canada Olympic gold. It's an unbelievable story. And, I'm excited, and I think all of our clients are super excited to hear that story.
Excellent. That's on Monday night with TrailblazerHockeyAdvisors.com. Contact Wayne. Definitely great to chat with you, Wayne. Really appreciate the time. Enjoy the wonderful hockey watching.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a great week there, Theo, and let's compare notes next Tuesday.
Will do. We will see you next Tuesday. Coming up next is our good friend Gordie Tumilson, who's going to be joining us with regards to their upcoming development camps and their weekend and Wednesday skates in the near future. Actually, this whole month of April is going to be very busy for them too. We'll be back with Gordie here on the ice.
Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
Joining me now, as always, he just got back in from shoveling more snow. I know Gordie Tumilson joins me today. How are you doing, Gordie?
I'm fine, Theo, and how are you?
Great. I'm happy to be seeing no more snow, I hope. I don't know. There's supposed to be more coming. Who knows?
There's more coming, rain. Who knows? Golf season's delayed.
Yes, it is. But I guess with the delay is also the delay of season for these wonderful farmers. So you know what? Careful what you ask for, gentlemen and ladies. Leave it at that, right, Gordie?
You got her.
Busy week, busy month for Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. I mean, with the weather, some changes to the schedule, but we still have development hockey weekend camps as well as our Wednesday skates upcoming. Give us some details, Gordie, on how that's going to be looking and what do potential players and new members of the academy look forward to seeing?
Well, the schedule is pretty good. We've got the girls sort of 05 through 09 female kids can come out this coming weekend in Pilot Mound. So take a look at our Pilot Mound website. I think it's going across the board there. If not, it should be soon. Register up. It's not very expensive, and it's a great weekend of hockey and learning and evaluating us, and we evaluate you, and that's a great deal for kids and moms and dads to get a picture of what's going on. The following weekend, we have the male U17 and 18 boys programs. That's 05 through 07, I guess. So those 3 years, and then we have a week break, and then the following week, the middle of May, is our last session, and we have the U15 boys, the 08, 09s coming in, and we're expecting anywhere between I guess 15 and 30 kids, depending on the weekend and what's going on. And we're looking for top-notch players, of course, AAA kids for the most part, or top-end AA players that are looking for something different, getting a great education, getting a ton of hockey. I mean, there's ice time. You can get 400 hours of ice time in the 8 months that the rink's open, so that's a bonus. And then, of course, a lot of community, good people stuff for the rest of the time.
You know, when you talk about a well-rounded program in a small community, I can't think of a better place than Pilot Mountain because, you know, I visited it many times, Gordie. And when it comes to your schedule, it's very set. So if you're looking for structure, check that one off the box. If you're looking for a small community so everyone gets to know you so you don't get lost amongst the numbers and you're known as a name, not a number, check that one off the box. And if you're looking for a great opportunity with the amenities and the resources available to develop your hockey, from coaching to the weight room, to your own dressing room, to the uniforms, to the staff, to the supports, the dorms, there's too many boxes to check off, and they're all checked off. So if you're usually looking for that, you know, place of serenity, opportunity, and a new start, there's the website at the bottom of the screen, pilotmountainhockeyacademy.com. Great coaching staff. I mean, adding Billy Keene is going to be a huge plus to the program, as well as the other coaches that are still involved. Seeing that U15 program develop in their first year, truly amazing, Gordie. What are your thoughts on just how this year has really just started with September with a lot of unknowns and looking at it now saying, man, what a great year.
Yeah, it was a great year in terms of kids growing and maturing and getting taller and more physically fit and all of those things. You know, the wins and losses weren't as good as we liked them. So if anybody's checking the record, it wasn't a great year on that side of the coin, but everything else was super. I mean, kids got out into the community, got to shovel some snow for some people, helped out with the curling bonspiel last week. So they learned how to curl a little bit. Some of them have never done that before. Plus they volunteered and helped out the curling organization. We help our kids and our coaches help with our AAA Buffaloes mini Buffs guys, the 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids that are in our program. So yeah, it was a trying year on one side. COVID was still around, but we got out and played some hockey, got some travel in, got to go to Penticton, got those playoffs in. A lot of experiences for the kids that they would never have ever had. You know, most of these kids would never get out of their own city, let alone into Western Canada, into the interior of BC. So bonus for them, and certainly, so we're proud of the opportunity. And then, of course, the school. We can't forget the school. You know, you've got small classes and teachers that take every person in there very personally, and it becomes kind of a family unto itself. So yeah, the whole thing was a really good year from all those perspectives. Yeah, it was a good time.
Certainly the CSSHL opportunities traveling west are there. I mean, going to certain communities, like you said, Penticton, Winsport, Caronport, just to name the numbers off the top of my head. But are we still looking to potentially go south of the border next year as well, Gordie, with the NA and the other divisions we had previously to COVID?
Yeah, the plan is right there. We're going south with all of our teams, and multiple weekends. There's going to be more showcases this year than ever. Trying to come up with a way to manage the various divisions so that we've got them competitive pretty much through the whole season, and so we're looking at lots and lots and lots of games this coming season, and so yeah, it's going to be a busier, more travel season, no doubt, from start to finish for our teams.
And if you think going to a small town like Pilot Mountain, you're going to have a lot of downtime, shake your head, just like Gordie's doing now, because when you really think about it, your schedule, if you look at their website, is set from if you have the early morning practice, you're up early. But if you have the late afternoon practice, you're after school on the ice. Then you've got your weights, you've got your off ice conditioning, you've got your homework time, you've got your dorm time, you've got your other commitments to the community. By 9 o'clock, your day's pretty much, you're ready to hit the sack.
Yeah, kids are fried, but and of course you throw some travel in there, and that takes them away. They play a lot of games on a weekend. They come back, and they've got a busy schedule. Quite often, we don't do things on Monday after a weekend of hockey. That's their day off. We don't want to, we're not trying to beat them into the ground. But 6 days a week they're playing hockey. They're doing homework at night. They can get back to the rink and skate for an hour in the evenings after they do their sort of extra classroom schedule, study hall. We do video sessions. And then of course there's 3-on-3. Brittany in the dorm, she runs 3-on-3 tournaments all winter long. They make up little teams, mixed boys and girls teams, and it becomes kind of an in-house battle. It's almost greater than the teams they're playing against out west. So lots of fun. Busy time. These kids are busy, and if they're not busy doing their own thing, we've got them out in the community doing some other stuff.
And if like you said, there's the female weekend only this weekend upcoming. It's going to be the U17, 18s the following weekend, and then a couple of weeks after that, the U15s. If you can't make it to those weekend camps, don't worry. Give Ginger a call, send them an email, figure out potentially coming out to one of the Wednesday skates or one of the practice sessions that are during the week as well. So if it's something where the schedule doesn't work for you on the weekends, don't fret. Do go and check this program out. I cannot say that enough.
Yeah, you're right. And that's right at the top of the top bar on the website. On their evaluations, you can go there. Gives you all the details. Really simple, easy to register, and you don't have to pay anything until you get there. It's trusting small town, rural Manitoba community. So that people come in. Can I pay you tomorrow? Oh yeah, sure, no problem. And everything gets done. And this past weekend we got in there on Sunday. Of course, it was hell to pay with the snow and you could barely get to this place. We had one of our goalie kids coming from Calgary got stuck in the Laravere hill. Couldn't get the little car up the hill, so we had to go get him and tow him. And it was a lot of fun. So it's we've got some more things to happen, and just be in touch. Don't hesitate. If we can't hit one of those dates, well, we can watch some video. We can get a sense. We can figure some things out for you. No problem.
PilotMountainHockeyAcademy.com is the website. Check it out. All the schedules, the teams are all laid out there with their existing schedules. You can really see how busy it was this year. And like we said, they're going to add several showcases to go south of the border as well. Gordie Tumilson, I want to thank you very much for joining me today, this evening. Look forward to chatting with the rest of the crew this upcoming month to see how those camps are running. And hopefully you stay somewhat busy.
Oh, I'm going to be busy. Well, just one last thing. It looks like we're going to be hiring a second goalie coach.
Hey,
the present guy's getting pretty old, so I'm getting ready to get put out to pasture, which is just across the street from the rink. But no. There's lots of goalie left in me, but with adding the fourth team, it becomes a lot of extra work. We want to give so our goalie program, which we consider to be pretty darn good. I'm not tooting my own horn. We've got a good goalie program because everybody makes it that way. We're going to be adding, we think, an ex pro hockey guy into this mix as well from close by out there. And so we'll have even more instruction, more mentoring, all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to improve our program even more.
That's great news, Gordie. Look forward. You need a little help. Maybe a little bit of help wouldn't hurt. I mean, lots of eyes. Goalies have their own way of doing things, so maybe good to have an extra set of eyes watching what's going on.
Oh, I've encouraged that. I encouraged it last year as we went into the third team, and knowing that we're going to get a fourth team, we're going to need to do that. It's emotionally wearing on the coach. You watch every game and you make every save that every goalie makes, and of course you're working with all of the teams, not just one. So your mind is just boggled with stuff all the time, and where are the kids' heads at? Where are the mums? I talk to the mums and dads all the time. So we're trying to keep a balance and all that good stuff with the kids. So it's an emotional time, not only for the players but for the goalie coach. I make the field goal kicker and coach. You don't want to miss that field goal because otherwise it's a week of hell after that.
No doubt. Gordie Tumilson, thanks so much. Really appreciate the chat this evening. Again, any information you need, pilotmountainhockeyacademy.com. Send Gordie, send Ginger, send Rod an email. Any questions, I'm sure, can be answered through them. Really appreciate the time, Gordie. Thank you.
Hey, perfect. Thanks, Theo.
So I want to thank Mr. Wayne Kosior and Gordie Tumilson joining me tonight on the ice. Again, thank our sponsors, Case Financial Group, Dokesbook, Fuels, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, of course, and our good friends at Tovey Hockey. They're coming out with a brand new stick. It's going to be released very shortly. It actually was released in the States. The Entourage. I'm not going to take credit for that, but that's okay. I did give Mr. Richard Purcello the name a couple of years back, actually. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, everybody. Do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. Be more active, bringing more goodness to the greatness here on ASTV. Take care of yourselves, your neighbors. And we'll be back on Thursday with a very special episode of On the Ice. It's a little bit of hockey. It's a little bit of Sweden, but it's happening down under in Australia. No, it's not happening now. It's happening during their winter break in the middle of July, of all places. We're going to sit down with Brady Johnston. We're going to chat with him on this Australian International Ice Hockey Cup, which is fantastic. Stay with us. We'll see you on Thursday. Thanks so much for watching tonight, and take care. We'll see you Thursday at 6 o'clock. Bye-bye. Have a great rest of the evening.
Welcome to Off the Wall, our first episode of Off the Wall with Cody. I'm your host, Cody Wall, and I want to thank you all for tuning in today for my first broadcast here on my own channel for Off the Wall. We got an entertaining show here for you. Two players that are going to be attending the Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. I got the chance to sit down with them. First player I got to sit down with was James Hooton. James Hooton definitely was a treat to sit down and talk to. Nice to get his perspective on this upcoming tournament. And, seeing as he was a returning player for this tournament, getting his opinion on what his expectations were. And other guest I have tuning in later on today is Kaden Wilkins, another player who is going to be attending the Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. Kaden is a younger player, 2007 born, so it's going to be entertaining to get the perspective of a player, that's coming in on his draft year, maybe looking to impress some scouts. We've definitely got a long road ahead of him in regards to hockey-wise, and definitely going to be entertaining to sit down and talk to him. Both players coming from different backgrounds. Kaden coming from the Hockey Super League, which is a private league in Alberta for players that don't necessarily register with Hockey Canada. It's a private league that gets a little bit more hands-on experience. So we're going to talk to Kaden later on about his time in the Hockey Super League. But before we send it to an interview with Winnipeg's James Hooton, just going to give you a bit of a background on James. James coming in, like I said, his second go around with the hockey exposure camp, and coming in with pretty good numbers, getting in the top 3 of his team in goals, as well as being up there in points. Just a physical player that able to contribute in all facets of the game. We're going to send it to a quick commercial break and come back with my interview with James Hooton. Welcome to Off the Wall with Cody. I'm your host, Cody Wall. I'm here with James Hooton. James, how are you today?
I'm good, Cody. How are you?
Not too bad. Pretty interesting circumstances that we get to talk here. Looks like you're going to be one of the players participating in the Western Canada Exposure Camp. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's it's actually a really good camp because there's coaches from BC all the way to Ontario that come and watch all the players skate and play, and it's a really high level elite hockey, as it says in the name. There's so many players there that can play junior A, that can go into college. Like, it's very high skilled. You always take a lot out of the camp, and you get better after the camp.
For sure. So tell us a little bit about your season before we divulge too much into the Western Canada Exposure Camp. How did your season go this year?
My season went pretty well. As a rookie in the KI, I had 26 points, 28, 24 points, something around there. I had a pretty good season. I had a really good team to help with that also, in the Kelowna Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at your stats there, looked like you were able to maintain 5th on the team in scoring with your 24 points in your 42 games, and ended up coming in 2nd on the team in goals with 14. So looks like your team definitely depended on you to night in and night out kind of be one of those driving factors for the offense.
You know, there's not, you can't really say there's driving factors because it depends where you are and what you're doing on the ice during that night. So it's mainly just trusting your team and hoping that, well, not really hoping, but trusting that they can get their job done so that you can do your job of scoring goals.
Yeah, definitely good teammates always help. And some of those teammates that you were able to play with, you want to give them a little bit of credit there while we have you on there?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta give credit where credit's due to one of my buddies, Alex Edwards. He's young. He's an 05, but the kid he's very aggressive, and so when he puts the puck in, I mean, he goes after it, and he can cough up a lot of turnovers. And Spencer Horning, I played with him a little bit too. He's more of a laid back kind of passer. So as a goal scorer myself, having him on the line, him passing it to me, I mean, it's pretty good connection there to generate.
Always finding some chemistry with your teammates. Looking back at your elite prospects page, looks like dating back to 2018-19, you did end up winning the WHL U17 championship with the